Hello, welcome back to the channel.
I'm Tanya.
And I'm Simon.
And today we are sharing our thoughts on a port visit to Hong Kong. Been to Hong Kong
3 times at least now.
Yeah, I went without you once, by the way.
Before you'd even met me, I don't think that counts.
So we've cruised into Hong Kong a couple of times. We've had a one-stop visit and then we had a 2-day visit, and we've also spent, I think, about 8 days.
Yeah.
We were there on a holiday. So we're going to share a few ideas of how to do Hong Kong cruise port on a budget.
When we've cruised into Hong Kong, we've stopped at the old Kai Tak International Airport, which is quite surreal, knowing that that's where planes land, because it would have been pretty damn scary.
I flew into that airport many moons ago on my first trip there, and yes, you flew in between the skyscrapers. Actually, with Princess, the cruise port provided free shuttle buses that went to 2 different shopping centres. In reality, it's really to try and con you to go to a shopping centre and spend lots and lots of money, but being the slightly economical tight asses that we are, we used it as a really great way to get to an MRT, the subway system that runs through Hong Kong. So the one we chose to go to was Plaza Hollywood, and it is directly on top of the Diamond Hill MRT station. So there's your free first tip of getting to the MRT.
Yep.
I need my glasses because
The first places we visit were the markets.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can spend an entire day of your cruise port in the markets. There are loads of different markets within a really close proximity to each other. The easiest one to head to first is the flower markets, and it's actually quite pretty.
It is very pretty, lots of flowers. I wouldn't necessarily call it a market. It is just a lot of flower shops per se, more than a market and market stalls. They're permanent stores, but certainly a wide variety of plants available. Obviously not something you're going to be able to take back on the cruise, but certainly very nice and pretty to look at. Yeah,
very pretty to look at, and lots of opportunities to take some photos. To get there from the Diamond Hill MRT station, it's a 10-minute ride on the subway line, getting off at Prince Edward Station. If you come out exit B1, I'll pop a map into our video. It's a really easy stroll, which very conveniently takes you down to the next market that you can head to.
Which is probably my favourite one, which is the bird market.
Known as Fa Yen Street.
Yep.
Apologies if we're completely killing the pronunciation.
So not only are there vendors of birds there, but certainly on a couple of days that we've been there, you'll actually have people bringing their own birds down and displaying them there. So many varieties of parrots and finches and so on that you'll get to see that are either for sale or, like I said, people displaying them. And
there were lots of men.
Yes.
It was predominantly men. There were women working in some of the stores, but predominantly men that were down there. And I think they were playing, wasn't chess, it might have been mahjong or something, that they were playing down along there as well. But it was it felt authentic.
And a lot of the stalls also sell things like crickets and locusts and everything, and I'm not sure why. I'm not sure how many birds actually eat them, but they were also widely available there if you're interested in a locust or two.
We didn't eat them, yes. And from there, we actually spent a little bit of time there. We made a joke on our last trip there. I don't know if you can remember, you weren't feeling too flash, and you sat down on a chair and it said something about sanitising, and I made a joke that you were going to get bird flu, and lo and behold, within 2 weeks, coronavirus had hit our ship for the first time ever, and you were quite sick, so might have jinxed him there. After bird market, where did we head to?
So then we went to the Goldfish markets.
Which,
again, it's permanent stalls, permanent shops rather than stalls.
Yeah.
And again, not only fish, we saw plenty of frogs as well that were available. Probably some of them are not in the best conditions, like some of the some of the tanks were very over full.
And lots of plastic bags, and I'll pop lots of photos in, but plastic bags
Fish in
with
plastic
fish,
bags.
Fish just in the plastic bags.
Yeah.
But it's worth a walk through.
Yeah.
It's all really within a close proximity, so not too much walking. And Simon's favourite place to visit, that is sarcasm from Tanya, Simon's favourite place to visit after that
was the Mong Kok Ladies Market, which is absolute shopping hell. So it is a proper market. So the stalls are only temporary, set up each day and taken down.
Yep.
And it's the place to go for your fake Louis Vuitton, Gucci crap.
We don't buy fake Louis Vuitton and Gucci crap.
No.
But there's also lots of, I'd say, tat.
Yes.
And I think our first visit when we weren't on a cruise, we got sucked into buying these really cute USBs that had little characters on them, and we bought 10 for however much it was, and we got home and
none of them worked.
Surprisingly, it was all a con and none of it worked. But if you're after some touristy souvenirs, there's definitely the place to go, or if you're after fake stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of clothes there, like fake brand clothes, but again, and quite cheap. So, you know, if you need some new T-shirts or something, it's certainly worth having a look at. But honestly, everything's pretty rubbish, and I would certainly advise everyone to stay away from the electronics. You'll see a lot of obvious fakes, but they'll also have some name brand fakes that just won't work. So keep your money in your pocket.
Yeah, I think one bag we saw was a blend of Gucci and Louis Vuitton in one bag. From there, you've kind of got a couple of different options. You can keep walking and head down to the Avenue of the Stars, which is
It's like the Hollywood.
Hong Kong's. The famous thing down there is the Bruce Lee statue that most people know, but there's lots of different handprints down along there of famous Hong Kong actors.
Yeah.
We didn't know any of them, but and the waterfront's lovely. Lots of the view across to Hong Kong Island is quite lovely. Or if you didn't want to do that, you could catch the MRT back to where the Diamond Hill, where the shuttle bus is, and right beside the shopping centre, just across the road, is an absolutely beautiful area.
Yeah.
That's free. Doesn't cost a single cent to go in there.
So that's the Lian Gardens and the Lin Nunnery. The gardens were fantastic. They had some massive, which is a contradiction, but massive bonsais, massive little trees. Obviously very old bonsais, and that you could, you know, get right up next to and take pictures of and so on. Really beautiful. So definitely worth a look.
And ponds in there, and the buildings were beautiful, and the traditional cultural bridges and things like that. And given that it's free, even if you didn't want to do all the markets and all of those things, catching the free shuttle bus into the shopping centre, crossing the road and going and seeing those things, it would be well worthwhile. Yeah.
And probably very easy to, like, the gardens are fairly flat, so if you have some mobility issues, they're very easy to walk around and so on.
Yeah. And in the shopping centre, there are lots of I think there a Harrods.
There was a Harrods.
Was a mini Harrods.
Harrods.
It was Marks and Spencer's. Or was it a Harrods?
I thought there were both. There's definitely a Marks and Spencer's, and I've definitely seen a Harrods there.
Yeah, he should know because he's English and all, you know. But there was some fancy. There was H&M and coffee shops and things like that. If you're wanting a little bit of a change, so I guess you're wandering around the MRT and using the MRT. You can get single tickets. You can buy single tickets through the machines. You can use an octopus card. Hong Kong's octopus card, not a different country's octopus card. But I did read online that they didn't when we were there, but now you can use your credit or debit card to tap and go as you go through the gates. So that sounds like that would be a lot easier. We borrowed someone's octopus card, I think, last time.
We were fortunate,
We used their credit that they had left on it. Sorry, Teresa. But that was a lot easier with having the octopus card than buying the single tickets. Another tip for the MRT is I'll put the link in the description. If you go to the website, you can actually download a PDF to keep on your phone or print out if you are still doing non-technological ways of doing it, the subway map. And there's also particular station maps that show you what exit to get out to be able to access different areas. Or Google Maps now is exceptional of being able to see what exit to come out for those things. So that's how you use the MRT. But there's a couple of other things that people could do if they were in a port day. So those first things would take the entire day. You probably wouldn't fit anything else in to safely get back to the port on time. What else?
So we've done it before, which is the Peak Tram.
Which is like a funicular?
It is a funicular railway up to the Peak, Hong Kong Peak. First of all, if you're going to do it
early.
Do it very, 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 very early. So we got the first tram up there, I believe, when we did it.
Yeah.
By the time we'd been up to the top, done our viewing and came back down, all the ship's cruise tour buses, all the cruise buses,
the lines were massive.
It was ridiculously busy. I would have hated to have had to get on the train at that point in time. In fact, I would have probably turned around and said, no, we're not doing it.
No, I wouldn't have, because I would have nagged him to do it. I've actually been up there by myself before, years and years and years ago. There's a couple of ways that you could get there. You could get the shuttle, the first shuttle to get to the MRT, like we said, and then you can catch the MRT. You want to get off at how do you pronounce it?
Admiralty.
Admiralty Station. It is two trains. You do have to do a swap, but it's not difficult. It's really well signed. And from there, I think it was about 500 metres maybe walk.
Yep.
Maybe 15 minutes walk, I think it was, if that, to get to where you go in. And again, Google Maps shows you really quite clearly how to do that. Or if you wanted to go directly from the cruise port, it is about a 20-minute ride in a taxi, and there were heaps of taxis at the cruise port. What's at the top of the peak though? Why?
There's an observation. There's an observation tower at
There's
the
a what?
peak. Yeah, somewhere to look out.
The views are incredible.
Yeah, they are incredible.
The views go out towards the city, because the Peak Tram is on Kowloon Island.
Yeah.
It's not on, Hong Kong Island, not on the Kowloon side. So the views back over Kowloon are beautiful, but around the side there were also views out towards the fishing, I can't remember what Aberdeen. Out towards Aberdeen as well.
Yeah.
The views were absolutely lovely. Yeah. And there's the typical tourist stuff up there.
Yeah.
I think there was a Madame Tussauds, if I remember correctly, somewhere along either at the bottom or at the top. There were coffee shops and restaurants, and there was you can actually walk back down if you want.
If you're silly enough. But...
Yeah, we didn't. We caught the tram up and down. And while you're on the side of Hong Kong Island, there's a few other things that you can do over there.
Yep, so there's the Man Mo Temple.
Yeah, which was free to go into, so we love that. It was actually really quite beautiful. We took lots of photos with all of the incense spirals,
which you can buy as well, by the way. If you're fascinated by those incense spirals, you can buy them, but they would probably be a bit of a bugger to get back in your case.
Yeah, we didn't buy one, but we've been there a couple of times on our trips. It is actually really quite lovely to visit. And there's also over in that area the central mid-level escalators, which are actually, they're not a site, but sightseers, tourists go and see them as a site, but they're actually there for the workers at certain, because it's a very steep hill, the workers, for part of the day, they're running down in the mornings. The escalators run down. And they're kilometres and kilometres of escalators. They run down to get all the workers from up on the hill down for work, and then in the afternoon they run up. So I wouldn't want to be walking all that way up.
No.
But you could walk all that way up and catch them down to say that you've done it. On the Hong Kong Island, there's the really cute and historic trams that are really narrow. Can you remember those?
I do remember. Yeah. So the
ding ding trams.
Ding ding trams. Yeah.
I think they call them. So you can actually catch those right along the length of Hong Kong Island, and you can download the timetable, the schedule for that. They come quite frequently, and I'd highly recommend just jumping on one anyway as a little bit of a treat. I can't remember the price. I'll see if I can pop it in the video, but they weren't expensive at all. And we probably have one more recommendation for if you are cruising.
If you probably don't want to do what any other tourist is doing, then we would tell you to go to the 10,000 Buddha Monastery.
Yeah.
Now this monastery is on a hillside and it is stairs up and down. There's no way to get there any other way. So again, you're going to have to be fairly fit.
I made it.
You did make it.
Mind you, I was probably about 20 kilos lighter at the time.
And probably about 10 years younger.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, to get to the 10,000 Buddha Monastery, you need to take the Tuen Ma line. I'm not sure if that's right, but I'm sure Tanya will put it in as a caption.
I'll put the instructions in. It's actually 2 trains, but it's very easy.
Yeah.
It's really well signed from where the shuttle for the cruise ship drops you off. It's only about 25 minutes on the train, and then I think it was about a 500-metre walk to get to the base
of the stairs.
But I think if you were going to do the monastery, you would just do that for the day. Yeah,
I mean, from the pictures you'll see there's plenty to see there. If I remember rightly, the day we went, some kindly gentleman told us to watch out for some monks trying to scam you, so
we're not that silly to get scammed by
but
them.
Again, just be careful if they want to give you any freebies and so on that they then want a donation for. Don't accept them and just walk up to see the monastery and look at all the different Buddhas on the way. Yeah,
I've got a feeling there might have been a vegan restaurant at the top or a vegan cafe.
Yes, I think there was.
That you could get something to eat. Simon wasn't quite as adventurous with his eating back then, and I don't think we had anything. He'd try it again now. But there's some of our ideas for cruising into Hong Kong. We've enjoyed every time we've headed over to Hong Kong. It's not as cheap as places like Vietnam and Thailand. It's probably on a par to maybe Japan with visiting there, but we hope we've given you some ideas. And if you've liked our video, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up, and if you wanted to see more videos, we've got quite a few on our port stops.
And please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.
All right, see ya.
Bye.